Welcome to the 5 o'clock show. It's time for Common Sense. Now, it's Katz and Cosby with John Katzimatidis and Rita Cosby, standing for truth, justice, and the American way, bringing common sense to the world. Now, here's John Katzimatidis and Rita Cosby.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of mysteries this weekend. Not mysteries, a lot of crimes. I mean, Rita. One they stole of an NYPD.
Personal vehicle, right?
A car from an NYPD police officer by a Venezuelan gang, I understand.
And by the way, speaking of Venezuelan gangs, the other big story, John, is this El Salvador illegal immigrant, crossed the border 3 times into America, murdered somebody in El Salvador, and now he has been arrested for murdering a woman in the United States.
I just saw the headlines. You know, we in the main studio. We have like 10 TV sets set for almost every television channel. And one of the things is the White House press secretary says fake videos. I mean, what video was fake?
She's talking about the Obama walking Biden off the stage at this big $30 million fundraiser.
Because he froze. He
absolutely froze. And Obama was trying to save Biden from himself. And that's now supposed to be a fake video.
Well, let me just tell you, I was in Normandy, as you guys know, not that long ago. I saw the president from not too far. He looked like he was freezing. His gait was so slow. That isn't a deep fake. I can just tell you when I saw him with my own 2 eyes.
You were there yourself.
I was there with my own 2 eyes, watching, looked close.
Which raises the question, the very good question, Rita and John.
Look, I have nothing
which
against...
is, what's causing it?
Yeah, what's causing it?
I have zero against Joe Biden. Except
his policies?
I don't think I really don't think he's capable of being president right now.
And you want the best person in the Oval Office. You want someone who's physically and mentally fit. John, you think about how much it ages people.
Senator D'Amato knows him very well. He even came to Senator D'Amato's wedding.
I was there with him, yeah.
And Congressman King was there too. And he's a different person today than he was 10 years ago.
Totally different. I mean, Joe Biden was always maybe saying some goofy things. Having said that, he was always sharp. He had a good sense of humor. He knew everyone in the room. So it's like, and his eyes looked right through you. It's like a different person.
Yeah, he's glazing. He always
totally
was
glazed.
spunky.
Yeah.
I think about the debate he did. Remember the VP debate he did against Paul Ryan?
Yeah.
He was sharp as a tack, I thought, in that debate, but that was years ago.
Well, last week, we have Charlie Rangel. It was his 94th birthday. Mm-hmm. And we had him on the radio. And Charlie, as sharp as a tack.
Sharper. He's great.
94 years old, sharp as a tack. So it's not about age. It's about keeping your mental acuity.
Absolutely. By the way, I was with veterans who were over 100, sharp as a tack.
Tomorrow, congratulations, Rita. You are the winner. Winner, I guess. It's not what's the name of the award?
It's a Gracie Award.
A Gracie Award.
And
you
favorite,
and Cindy Adams.
Exactly.
And she's over 94, and she's as sharp as a tack, and has her own show on WABC on Sundays at 2 o'clock.
And Rita's 24.
Thank you very much, Pete. I love you.
No,
You obviously are drinking. I love that. I appreciate it.
She's over 29.
Thank you. Somewhere in between there.
Right.
Somewhere in between.
Yeah.
But I am honored because it's women selecting women, and I'm delighted to be honored along with the great Cindy Adams. That makes it even more special. By the way, speaking of big news, big developments coming out of New Jersey, guys. Now another power broker there has been arrested in a sweeping indictment.
12 years of racketeering.
Yeah, big stuff tied to Camden and a whole bunch of other stuff. And joining us now is the New Jersey GOP chair, Bob Hugan. Bob, tell us about this because this involves a well-known Democrat, George Norcross. His brother is a congressman. So fill us in on what this means also for New Jersey.
Well, you really can't make this stuff up, can you? But, I have to tell you, in the bigger picture of things you've been talking about, it's hard not to be cynical about this stuff, that when President Trump gets convicted in that sham trial about the make-up charges and stuff, all of a sudden now Democrats want to trot other stuff out there, say, oh, we're balanced, we're fair. It's just a bunch of garbage. And And I do believe people should be given the presumption of innocence until they're proven guilty, whether that's Senator Bob Goldbar Menendez or George Norcross or anybody. But it's a shame. And his brother was indicted also, not Philip, not as Donald, his brother, the congressman. And, it's business as always. Now, whether this is just the way Democrats operate or it's illegal, we're going to find out. But
how can you be racketeering for 12 years and takes 12 years to catch him?
Yeah. Well, you know why? Because they want to do it when it fits them. Norcross has been somebody who's worked with Governor Christie, been bipartisan in a lot of ways, trying to get things done. And I have to be honest with you, Camden is a much better town than it was 20 years ago, and Cooper Hospital is a great hospital and stuff. So he's done a lot of good things, but how he's done it, I guess, is what they're waiting for to find out. But he, Murphy his administration is just out to make headlines, to confuse people that his terrible economic policies are strangling the people of New Jersey. His environmental policies are restricting our ability to add servers to New Jersey because he won't allow natural gas in the state. So the state headed the wrong direction. Now they want to hide things by acting like we're Mr. Clean government. Give me a break.
By the way, what's happening with the Menendez case, too, the latest? Where's that headed? Because he filed as an independent, he's still running.
Yeah, I signed a petition for him. What are you kidding me? I want him to run. But,
of course
he's not.
Yeah, I was going to say,
run.
right.
He's not going to run.
Yeah, this is Pete King. I'm sorry, go ahead.
16th, August 16th is the last day you can pull out, right? So you appear on the ballot if you're a Republican, a Democrat, or an independent if you don't pull out by August 16th. If he's convicted, not him himself, but other people are going to negotiate with President Biden, whether it's lame duck or after the election, and they're going to pardon him in exchange for pulling out by August 16th. If he's not convicted, you're going to see some kind of thing. He's going to pull out before August 16th, and he's going to be given some kind of great ambassadorship or some great job and line his pockets with money legally, I guess. And so no matter what happens, the guy's not going to run. He's not going to take votes from Andy Kim. Anybody who thinks he's going to take votes from Andy Kim just ain't going to happen. He's doing it for himself to protect his butt and his wife's butt. So I just think it's all political nonsense.
And, Bob, we just have literally a few seconds. Real quick, Peter King.
Yeah, Bob, this is Pete King. I'm from New York. I have a lot of friends in Jersey. And I've been told this could also be part of the fact that it was Norcross and Sweeney on one side, Murphy on the other, and it's as much an inter-party feud as anything else. Anything to that?
There's no doubt that you saw what happened with Sweeney and working with Christie and then Murphy being very hard. They've done a good job of trying to support Tammy when she was going to run with the nepotistic Senate candidate and the stuff, trying to make up to Murphy. But they're vindictive, and they don't find it. I absolutely believe inter-party struggle, squabble. And you see 8 people running for a Democratic nomination, so we'll see what happens. It's a crazy time in New Jersey.
Well, Bob, thank you so much. Keep us posted. We appreciate it, Bob. Thanks so much.
See you guys soon.
Thank you. Let's go to Karl Rove.
Yep, former senior advisor to President George W. Bush. Karl, let's get to, first of all, this freezing that we have seen with President Biden, and you saw Obama leading him off the stage. This has happened a number of times. The White House is now saying it's deep fake, but age is definitely, and I shouldn't even say age, it's mental acuity, it's physical fitness and mental fitness, clearly in this case, that's on the ballot. It's interesting because you could see Jill Biden in the last few days has been saying it's not age, it's character. Your thoughts of how much this is going to come to play, and also with the debate right around the corner, that's going to be a biggie, Karl.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on. Second of all, does anybody really believe that Pete King has lots of friends in New Jersey? I mean, it's hard enough to have friends in New York, for God's sake. I mean, please.
I'm glad you corrected that. Thank you,
Karl,
Karl.
you got me there. I plead guilty. But I may have more friends than you, though.
No. That's right. No, that's not true. But let me just say, Pete, I have 2 friends in Texas. One is a former president, and one in me. But sometimes I'm not certain about him being there. I mean, really just. So
well, tell the president I said hello, please. Great person.
I will,
great man.
I will. So, look, Jill Biden can say all that she wants about how this is all about character. We see the president. We've seen him for 3 years get worse and worse. And this is not going to go away. Take a look at these polls. Who's more effective? Who's stronger? Who's got, who's more on top of the job? Who's got more up to it? Every one of these polls comes back 2-1 for Trump or better on the issue of who's better on these physical dimensions. it was Bill Clinton who said strong and wrong beats weak and right. Well, he was a little bit tainted, but he's right. People want their president to be strong. They may not agree with him on everything, but they want their president to be a strong and effective leader. And Biden is being followed by these concerns because they're real. And look, I don't know if Barack Obama had to put his hand on his back in order to guide him off, but we all look at it, and that's what we think might have happened. And whether it's fair or unfair, the times that we have seen the president, scramble his words and demonstrate weakness and fall down on the steps and so forth, right or wrong, we've come to the conclusion that he's not up physically to the job. And with that is the mental acuity that this job requires.
So how big is the debate going to be? Because I just saw, by the way, it just came out that the new rules are there will be podiums. They'll have uniform podiums. When John and I were talking with President Trump, he was being told that they would have to sit at a desk. And he didn't want that. So obviously, luckily he won. I think if you're going to be president of the United States, you should be able to stand at a podium, especially given some of these questions we're talking about here. What are your thoughts? And also, they're planning on muting the mics so they can't talk over each other. How is that going to help and hurt both of the different candidates?
Probably help.
Well, frankly, it's going to the muting the mics is going to help President Trump, whether he knows it or not. Because in 2020, in that first debate, when he started screaming and yelling and interrupting, he hurt himself. He kept a perfect record for incumbent presidents. Every incumbent president in our lifetime has lost the first debate. I was there. I was there in 2004, and President Bush lost the first debate. In 2012, Barack Obama lost the first debate. And Donald Trump, this was insisted upon, as I understand it, by the Biden campaign. But ironically, the guy who's going to benefit from him, if he recognizes that it's in his advantage, don't interrupt. Let Biden speak. Let him scramble his sentences. Let him make his arguments and respond accordingly. Don't interrupt him. Don't look like a bully. Don't look like you're out of control. Don't look like you've lost it. Let him have his moment and then respond.
Judge Weinberg.
Carl, good to talk to you again. I'm very troubled by the border situation, but I'm even more troubled by the fact that Biden administration seems to be doubling down on that. And all the polls show that across the board, whether you're talking about Democrats, Republicans, independents, different ethnic groups, all say that this open border crisis is a real negative for Biden. What's going on here?
Well, again, we're seeing the reality of it. We've been feeling this in Texas, but think about it. You in New York City, you've received a fraction of the people who come across every month or two in Texas. And think about how New Yorkers have gotten wired up about the impact it's having on social services and your city budget and the quality of life and crime in your city. Well, think about it down here in Texas. We've been undergoing this for the last 4 years. The city of Chicago, I think, has had something like 18,000 people have been bused or flown from Texas and Arizona to Chicago in like 18 months. And, people who you don't get to Chicago or from Texas unless you want to go to Chicago. You got friends or family there, and that's where you want to go, and you volunteer to go there. Well, look, there are two little communities. Chicago is a big town, 2.5 million people, 5 million people in the metro area. There are two little towns down the Texas border that are a part of what's called the Del Rio sector of the border. They are Del Rio and Eagle Pass, and they get 18,000 people every week or two. And you can imagine what is happening to these two communities that have 70,000 population, to their social services, to their quality of life, to this public safety. The little local hospital down there has 101 beds, and it puts out $100,000 a month in uncompensated care because the feds find somebody who's sick, who's come across the border, and they dump them on the front steps of the hospital, and they have to make them well, bring them back to health. But the federal government ain't reimbursing it. So, but now it's Chicago, Denver, New York, Washington, Detroit. All of these communities are figuring out what it's like to be on the front line of the border, because we now have every major American community as a border community like we have in Texas.
Hey, Carl, this is Pete King. I don't mean this is a softball question, but you've been there in the Oval Office. You've been there when life and death decisions had to be made by President George Bush. How vital is mental fitness? And I don't mean that as a softball question. I think, the people should hear that, how vital it is.
Yeah. Well, look, think about this, Pete. You know this. He was your friend. You saw him enter that office at the age of 54, and you saw him age. That happens with every president. Take a look at Barack Obama in January of 2009 taking the oath of office, and then look at pictures of him 8 years later leaving. This is a tough job. There's a reason why we elect men in their 40s and 50s to be president of the United States, because it is a tough job. And the idea that a 81-year-old who would be 82 by the time of the inaugural, who's already showing signs of decline. I mean, we all age at a different rate. He's aged a lot in the last couple of years, and he wasn't great to begin with. And now we're seeing what's happening. This is a problem because our next president, whoever it is, whichever of these two men holds that job, is going to have enormous challenges. And we're going to have them at the top of their game, not faltering. And the American people on some level, regardless of whether they're left or right, Republican, Democrat, vegetarian, green, libertarian, they understand that we need to have somebody who's up to that job.
Yeah, no question. Carl, thank you. We love having you on, my friend. Thanks so much for being here.
You bet. All the best.
Thank you.
And now let's go to the Far East and we have Gordon Chang, and his Twitter is at Gordon G. Chang. If you want 24 hours knowing what the heck is going on. Gordon, any updates? What's going on in the Far East?
Too much, John. Today, we had the problem of Chinese and Philippine vessels in Second Thomas Shoal in the South China Sea colliding. Obviously, the Chinese caused this. This is the world's most dangerous flashpoint right now, certainly more dangerous than Taiwan, because China's belligerent activities at Second Thomas Shoal, Sabina Shoal, and Scarborough Shoal are really designed to start a war. So we don't know where this is going, but clearly we need to watch it day by day.
What about also who's crossed the border, Gordon? I saw some new numbers lately, and it seems like the number of Chinese nationals, again, well-dressed, sort of military-age men, crossing our southern border, it continues to skyrocket. What do you know about that?
Yes, well, if you go back a couple of years, Rita, you see the Chinese migrants coming across are primarily family groups. In other words, people who wanted to live in a free society. Now, 80 to 85%, according to U.S. Border Patrol, are those men that you described. Military age, single, traveling without family members, coming in packs of 5 to 15. And today we learned from the Daily Caller that a police officer in China runs a Telegram network, the social media platform, telling Chinese how to get into the United States. Now, this can't be just an individual doing this. It's got to be at the behest of the Communist Party, which means that this migration across our southern borders is at the demand of the party. And that means some of these individuals are extremely dangerous.
Yeah, that is really scary. Gordon, here's Judge Weinberg.
Welcome back, Gordon. Good to talk to you. Well, there's a major article today in Gatestone, which you participate in greatly, about the China threat. And it's talking about TikTok. It's talking about the farmland. It's talking about the schools, nuclear enrichment, Navy, Belt and Road, buying into U.S. companies, buying farmland. What is it going to take for the United States to realize that, in fact, there's a real hot, cold war going on with China, and how do we deal with that?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that question because I thought that we would, at least by now, be taking measures with much more sense of urgency. I'm afraid, Judge, that what it's going to take, your question, will be the death of a great number of Americans. This is where this is going. We have a political system that is determined not to defend us. The President of the United States actually knows what's going on. Last August, at a private Democratic Party fundraiser in Park City, Utah, he actually talked about the danger of the Chinese regime, calling it a ticking time bomb. But he will not have that conversation with the American people at large. And so, therefore, we have to assume that this is going to go in a very bad direction.
Well, Gordon Chang, thank you so much for coming on. And we're going to have to take a hard break right now. And After the break, we're going to come back with Ambassador John Bolton, and he's got some revelations. Thank you, Gordon.
Thank you.
Long Island is more exciting than ever at Jake's 58 Casino Hotel. Get ready to zoom into some serious cash with Zoom Ball every Wednesday in June. Win up to $500,000. 1 point equals 1 entry. 2 lucky winners will be drawn at the top of every hour from 1 to 5 p.m. to play Zoom Ball. Discover the excitement at Jake's 58 Casino Hotel.
If gambling is a problem for you or someone, please call the 24-hour toll-free helpline at 877-8-HOPE or text NY.
Zaxby's has been perfecting chicken fingers for 30 years. So what now? Now, we go to the sea! Introducing the Southern Fried Shrimp Meal. With butterflied shrimp that's perfectly golden fried. A perfect blend of cocktail sauce and Zax sauce that we call Zax Tail Sauce. Plus perfectly seasoned crinkle fries, perfectly buttery Texas toast, and even a drink with perfectly pebbled ice. Here's to 30 more years of perfect. The new Southern Fried Shrimp Meal at Zaxby's. Woo, saucy! Zaxby's.
A common sense recap of the day's biggest stories. It's John Catsimatidis and Rita Cosby. Cats and Cosby on 77 WABC.
And we are back here on Cats and Cosby, and joining us now is former UN Ambassador John Bolton. Ambassador, give us first the update on Israel, because it looks like they may be on the brink of war with Hezbollah in the north.
Well, of course, this has been brewing almost simultaneously with the Hamas attack of October the 7th. And, you know, if the administration saw this strategically, they would understand, as is clear to almost everybody other than the White House, that all of these terrorist groups are proxies for Iran. And that what's happening, unfolding for better or well or ill for Iran at this point is the ring of fire strategy aimed against Israel. So I think it could be that Tehran thinks that Hamas is just about at the end of its rope, and that maybe the next way to put pressure on Israel and watch the weak response from the United States would be to torque up the violence in the north from Hezbollah.
John, this is Pete King. How much does the ending the war cabinet by Netanyahu, what impact does that have as far as Israel's position, as far as encouraging Iran, not encouraging Iran, and how much of that is due to influence of the United States undermining Netanyahu?
Look, this has been, as you know, Pete, this has been a consistent view of the Clinton, Obama, and Biden administrations. They don't like Bibi Netanyahu. They don't like him because he's not compliant, because he understands the threat of Iran better than any other politician in Israel or the United States. And they want to bring his government down. They thought if they got Benny Gantz to jump ship, that might do it. I don't think so, and I don't think in terms of the prosecution of the war, it's going to have any effect. Now, having said that, I don't at all want anybody to think that the pressure that Biden has been putting on Netanyahu hasn't been enormous. It's unparalleled in our recent history against an ally. You've got Schumer saying there ought to be new elections, Nancy Pelosi saying it. The Biden administration has basically adopted a policy of regime change in Israel. I'm glad they finally got around to regime change, but it should be Iran they're focusing on, not Israel.
Yeah, we had someone on the other day that was like they're putting more pressure, it seems, on Israel than they are on Hamas. Now, what about Russia in the middle of all this? Putin's going to North Korea tomorrow, Ambassador John Bolton.
Yeah, look, the North Koreans have come to Putin and the Russians' assistance in Ukraine, selling them artillery and ammunition. This helps increase Kim Jong-un's influence in the Middle East. Really, he's playing the Russians off against the Chinese like his father and grandfather used to do. But I think it also shows that Putin is not sitting idly by while the Western countries talk about how they're going to try and put pressure on Russia. Russia's trying to figure out how to ease the pressure and doing a pretty good job of it. They've suffered some economic setbacks because of the sanctions, but because the war is being prosecuted in Ukraine, Ukraine's economy has taken a much bigger hit over the last 2+ years than Russia's has.
Is Israel capable of fighting a war on 3 fronts? I mean, well, the Houthis front is not really Israel's. I think it's ours. But it's a pain in the neck.
Well, they're in a very dangerous neighborhood. There's no doubt about it. The struggle with Hezbollah at the minute is more a question of suppressing their missile and drone capability. But if Netanyahu did what the Israeli government's stated position is, which is to eliminate Hamas's military and political infrastructure, if he could finish that, then they would have more opportunity to turn their attention to Hezbollah and consider what might be necessary there to destroy at least some of this huge, huge inventory of missiles and drones that Hezbollah has built up over the years.
Understood. Anything else you want to tell the American people before we go to a break?
Well, I just think watching that Russian ship in Cuba was what brought back memories of the Cold War, the frigate and the nuclear-powered submarine. I mean, obviously we know about these things, but for the Kremlin to send that little flotilla in the middle of the G7 meeting to sail to Cuba, probably now off to Venezuela or some other place in the hemisphere, is intended as a thumb in our eye, and see what reaction they got from the Biden administration, which was next to nothing. It's just Putin showing he's still a world player.
Well, Ambassador John Bolton, thank you for your wisdom, and we'll catch up with you again real soon.
Sounds good. Thanks, John.
Thank you. And Rita, you have some hot news today?
It's the
from
top
Goya.
news of the day, sponsored by Goya. Here's Rita Cosby.
Well, speaking of hot, scorching heat will threaten temperature records this week throughout the Midwest and Northeast. The National Weather Service says some places could experience the longest heat wave they have seen in decades. Both the Biden and Trump campaigns are agreeing to new rules for the first presidential debate of 2024 taking place next week, as you heard. CNN announced yesterday that both candidates have now agreed to appear at a uniform podium with their positions determined by a coin flip. Microphones will be turned off during the 90-minute debate, except when it's each candidate's turn to speak. There's also not going to be any studio audience. And as you heard at the top here of Katz and Cosby, the White House disputes video showing President Biden having to be let off the stage. Video taken at a fundraiser in California over the weekend shows Biden freezing up before former President Obama grabs him by the wrist and then leads him off the stage. But Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre at the White House today says those videos showing Biden in a bad light are all, quote, deep fakes. That's what she says. And those are the Goya top stories of the day.
You're commuting home with Katz and Cosby. Now, here's John Katzimatidis and Rita Cosby on 77 WABC.
Well, we are back, and now we have the number 2 man in Florida, the CFO of Florida, Jimmy Patronis. Jimmy, how are you down there?
I'm great. I tell you, the weather is wonderful. People have lots of money in their pockets. This is what Florida's all about.
And you don't get mugged in Florida, right?
No, you don't get mugged, and you get to get and I mean, when you go to New York, it's kind of like the state mugs you. You know, I mean, the state collects and the city collects. I mean, I don't know where's a safe place. You have to tell me next time I come up.
Jimmy, the biggest problem I think Florida is having, you guys, the weather is great, the food is great, everything's great. I understand some insurance problems, similar to what statewide is having in California.
Yeah, in California they're having trouble underwriting,
problems, right? What are you doing to fix it?
Sure. So we're in constant contact with our carriers. We took our medicine in December of 2022, and we had an environment in the state of Florida where for every 10 claims, 7 of them were represented by an attorney, insurance claims. So we had a problem where people found a way to make money off of suing insurance companies. So we had to close some loopholes. And this is what has made it attractive to bring capital back to the state. But now here in Florida, you know, this year 10 carriers have dropped rates. 10 carriers have not asked for any rate increases. And Mr. John, Rita, that's not happening in Texas, Louisiana, California. All those states now are having double-digit rate increases.
So in other words, you're on top of it. Do you have a hotline for people that are having troubles with insurance companies?
Absolutely. You can call 1-877 my FLCFO. But I'm real active on Twitter. I mean, people can just reach out to me directly. I'll just call them.
Wow. You're a busy guy. Do you sleep?
22 million people is in charge of.
I know. They're all going to call him now.
Judge Weinberg?
But that's okay. I signed up for the job. I don't complain.
Jimmy, it's Richard Weinberg. Good to talk to you again. Let me ask you a question. Do you have the same problem we're having in New York? We have allegedly Russian gangs setting up phony insurance scams, phony accents using migrants? Because that's happening here in New York.
So what we're having this bait and switch where people will sign up for Obamacare, and that information will be stolen and flipped to another. So these agents are out there multiple times flipping people from Obamacare to Obamacare to Obamacare, and now you have people having, they don't realize what their policy is anymore, and the federal government doesn't care because they just want people enrolled, and they don't care if it's unethical how they got enrolled or not. So we've got a real mess on our hands. I do all insurance fraud investigation for the state. So right now the only tools we've got, we're doing our investigation, but we're confiscating licenses, and ultimately we'll start making some significant arrests. But we have to turn these guys. It's bad. It's happening all over the country, though.
What else would you like to report on Florida right now?
That we took this. We got this inoculation. We took University of Florida created this shot, and now we're not susceptible to hurricanes anymore. So I mean that's just a whole nother reason why I think.
Well, I know the Tampa St. Pete area. The Tampa St. Pete area is not susceptible to hurricanes. Yeah,
I mean if you go and look at the history of hurricanes, it avoids that part of the state.
Yes.
It's the craziest thing, but it's a good thing. I'm glad. Especially when people like you are making investments down there. We love it.
Thank you. Before we go off, I want to hear you say, come on down.
Come on down.
That's great.
Thank you, Jimmy Petronas.
We love you.
And we'll catch up with you again real soon. The CFO of Florida. Thank you. And now we have Vito coming in.
Yep, we have Vito Fasella, Staten Island Borough President.
And he's mad as hell and he can't take it anymore.
I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take this anymore.
And Vito, you are raising the alarm about a migrant shelter at a church there in Staten Island. Tell us about it.
Yeah, well, good evening, everyone. Appreciate you having me on. And the whack-a-mole game continues. Late last week, we get a word that they're going to convert a portion of a church in the Port Richmond section of Staten Island, North Shore, into a migrant shelter for young men. And for those who may not know, Port Richmond is a dynamic, diverse community, really has maybe seen its ups and downs years ago, but right now it's on a trend, hardworking people investing in the storefronts and restaurants and their homes. And they wake up every day, how do we make this place better? And then along comes the city and says, we have an idea. Let's dump a migrant shelter right in the middle of it. So we came out today, both Democrats and Republicans. We try to do things in a bipartisan way, and we're pretty good at it on Staten Island. And we said, this is wrong. This is totally wrong. Once again, the open borders policy from 2 years ago continues to disrupt communities. People who are hardworking just want to work, make a living.
These migrants, we never promised them a rose garden. Whatever happened to that song?
Yeah,
we
that's
never
true.
Promised them a rose garden. I mean, Rikers Island has 25,000 rooms available.
Yeah, and I think, besides that, John, we have already proven in law, you've allowed us the opportunity to voice our concerns about the so-called right to shelter decree. And when we brought a lawsuit in Richmond County, the judge eviscerated the whole concept and said there is no such thing. There is no law. There's no state constitutional mandate. So therefore, whatever the city does and continues to do is not rooted in anything other than their policy, which I think is wrong. And they don't belong in hardworking residential communities where people say, I secured the American dream, and along come these 15 guys from who knows where, and we're going to plop them right down next to your kids. Just wrong.
Hey, Vito, this is Pete King. I hate to admit it, but you are 100% right, and I really support you fully on that. What are your chances? Of let's say between now and 6 months and a year from now of ending all this Mac-a-mole stuff?
I just want to repeat that Peter King said I was 100%
I know.
right.
By the way, we are recording that, so yes,
show.
yeah, we got that.
Posterity. Peter, I hate to say it, the same people making these decisions at the local level, thinking that this is good policy and good for the people of Staten Island, New York City, are the same people saying that congestion pricing is a good idea, are the same people saying borders are secure, are the same people making all these idiotic policies. They're just wrong in what they believe is the right way to live. And until and unless there's a change, unfortunately, we're going to have to keep fighting back. And I don't see a change until perhaps November, when the American people say enough is enough. And whether it be in Washington, D.C. or Staten Island, I think people have finally had it. You just had a guest on from Florida. As we know, more and more people are fleeing because they're tired of the policies that have been implemented around here. So all we can do is fight the good fight for the people of Staten Island, be their voice whenever possible. And that's what we get paid to do.
Well, keep us posted. Yeah, keep punching.
Thank you, Vito Fossella.
Thanks, Vito, very much.
Borough President of Staten Island. And now we're going to Dr. Mark Siegel, and I had breakfast with him last Saturday.
Oh, so how was breakfast, Dr. Siegel? Was it as good as dinner?
Father Alex was sitting next to me, and he was a pretty solid guy, I have to say. He invites the best people to breakfast, John, and, the owner of that restaurant's always sitting there, too. And he's a great guy. The nice thing about having breakfast with John or coming on this radio show is it's one thing that everybody has in common. They're nice people.
Yes, that is for sure. Well, we invited you on to talk about President Biden and the freezing.
The White House is saying they're
it's phony, a deep fake,
that it's fake videos. I mean, what's going on here? Who believes the White House at this point?
And by the way, Dr. Siegel, the other thing, there was a story that just came out. This is a doctor in L.A. He says maybe it's Parkinson's that's going on. What do you think?
Well, first of all, let's take it back. There's something going on. And the way you know there's something going on is something nobody's talking about, and that's why you have me on this show. It's that he's being handled. It's that President Obama grabs him by the arm and walks him off the stage. You actually cannot make that up. That can't be doctored. What is that about? And an aide in Normandy grabs him by the arm. Even if he knew where he was going, why do they think that they've got to maneuver him? This is the President of the United States. Now, what does he have? I'll tell you why I disagree with this Parkinson idea that's coming out of the blue. A couple of reasons. One of which, John, you know this person very well. My wife is an amazing neurologist, and she's been watching President Biden on these videos for years now. And what's notable is the gait. His gait is stiff, and he has some problems with spatial orientation. He gets really irritable. He forgets where he is. I don't think it's Parkinson's because of the fact that the White House doctor put flat out 2 years in a row in his yearly physical that it is not Parkinson's. And any self-respecting physician doesn't overtly lie on that kind of a paper. But what's notable on those papers is there's no MRI report, and there's no indication that multiple other neurological things have been ruled out, like vascular dementia that you get from atrial fibrillation, which he has, or normal pressure hydrocephalus, where fluid builds up in the brain and causes you to shuffle like that, which he has. So I think it is neurologic, and I think it is causing all of this impairment. I just don't think we should be trying to diagnose it precisely by a video, especially when his doctors claim it ain't Parkinson's. They can rule out Parkinson's with a clinical exam, so it's probably not that. But it is something, and it ain't good.
Well, and is it going to get any better? That's the big question, because we were talking earlier, when you look at like Obama. I remember seeing Obama when he came into the White House. When he left, he looked like he aged like 20, 30 years. Clinton,
yes,
too.
Did, yeah.
It's so visible.
The good news is you could probably tell President Biden that he's not president, and he would believe it. And that's how you replace him. You just tell him you're the vice president. He believes it. I mean, it's hard to believe that he's still going to run. And notice that debate where they're not letting him
He can't last 4 years. It's not fair to the American people that he's going to run and possibly win and be there for 4 years. Then you end up with Kamala Harris.
And Dr. Siegel will be on TV every minute, let me tell you, talking about it, because every day it'll be something else.
Yeah, no question.
Thank you, Dr. Siegel, and we'll catch up with you again real soon.
I had a very healthy breakfast, John. I want you to know that. I tried a granola with yogurt, Greek yogurt, and I asked for a little honey just to impress Peter Mikolos there. I wanted him to know I could really enjoy Greek yogurt.
The only thing you missed was olive oil. Thank you so much.
That's right. Thank you.
And we'll catch up again real soon. Let's take a break, and we come back with the famous Bill O'Reilly. Don't miss. Don't hang up. He's got some real good stories.
It's a common sense recap of the big stories. It's Katz and Cosby on 77 WABC.
Well, we are back here on Katz and Cosby, and joining us now is the mega nonfiction best-selling author, more than 19 million books in print, also the host of Common Sense with Bill O'Reilly every night on WABC Radio, 9 to 10 p.m., And, Bill, you had a blockbuster column where you said it's debatable, talking about the debate that's coming up super fast. Your thoughts about the big presidential debate?
Well, it'll be the most widely watched debate in history, I believe, because there's drama. And the drama really doesn't have anything to do with the two candidates going after each other. The drama is very simple. Can President Biden get through 90 minutes? I don't know. And that's what people will tune in to see, whether he can get through it. So I lay out what's likely to happen. It's not a tough analysis. So you're going to have CNN with two Trump haters moderating, Dana Bash and Jake Tapper. And all you got to do is research. Just go to Google and put in their names and put Donald Trump. And a string of vitriol will come up. And then you say, why would CNN pick two people to moderate a debate who despise one of the candidates on the stage? Why would you do that? And the answer is they don't have anybody else. They all despise Trump. I mean, Anderson Cooper is probably the less of it, and he's mad, I understand, because they didn't pick him at CNN. Anyway, the big change in the debate, which is a week from Thursday, is that both candidates' microphones will be muted when they are not speaking. So you'll only hear from them when they are asked questions by the moderators. They are not going to be able to interrupt each other or go over the time limit or anything like that. So I like that. But the big falsehood in the debate, the reason it doesn't mean anything, is there's no fact check. So they can say anything because, number one, their opponent can't interrupt them, and I don't think the moderators can interrupt them either.
Yeah, that'll be interesting, right?
To say whatever they want to say.
What about, Bill, what do you make of the fact about the podiums, too? Because originally the Biden team was pushing for a sit down, like a discussion almost debate. And the Trump team didn't want it. It sounds like they won on that, which I think is good, because I think if you're going to be president, you should be able to stand for the 90 minutes. What do you make of that?
I disagree with you, Rita. I think that Joe Biden should have a cot.
He may need one.
Yeah, I mean, look, let him rest in between when Trump's answering, and then he can get up when it's his turn. It's only fair. Man's 81. Come on.
And no audience also.
Yeah, there's not going to be any audience there at all to witness what might happen. But that's okay because the audience just hoots and hollers and they root, and that just distracts from everything. But I gave Trump a really good piece of advice, which you'll hear tonight on WABC at 9 o'clock on Common Sense, my program. Do you want to hear the advice, or should we save it for 9 o'clock?
No, I think you got to tell us. Tell us.
So I was searching for advice to give Joe Biden, and I couldn't find it. So he's going to memorize answers, and the challenge is, can he remember what he memorized? With Trump, what I would do if I were him would be halfway through the debate, if Trump feels that the questioning of Biden is softballs, And the questions will be there about the border, about inflation, but there'll be no follow-up. So, again, Biden can answer whatever he has memorized. If I were Trump, I would say Tapper asked him a question, because it's all going to be about January 6th and you denied the election. You know all of that. Okay. So when Tapper asks Trump a question, beginning about 30 minutes into the debate, if Trump feels that it's ridiculous, all Trump has to do goes, Mr. Tapper, I'll answer that question in a minute. But why don't you ask President Biden this question and spit something out? That just throws the whole thing into pandemonium, because Tapper's going to sit there, and if he doesn't answer the question, then Trump the next time around go, how come you didn't ask him that question? You see what I'm talking about?
Yeah, he's got to press him. I agree.
You could be a disruptor in there like crazy, but you have to do it polite, and you have to do it fact-based. It can't be Trump going, hey, we're not going to have a country, which he'll say 10 times, I know, but Biden will say 12 times, if you vote for the other party, we won't have democracy. This kind of nonsense back and forth. But anyway, the real deficit of all debates is there is no fact check, and everybody knows it. They can say whatever they want to say. So how does that serve the American people?
So what do you think it does? I do think, by the way, I think the stakes are high. And one of the other things, Bill, I know that you are concerned about, or at least you're focused on, is this increased panic, right, from the left. Because they're going to be watching, the Democratic Party's going to be watching, too, to see how Biden does.
Oh, the panic is already there. Did you see the White House today with this cheap fake stuff?
Yeah, they said it's a deep fake, like it's AI. Give me a break.
Yeah, I love this. So, it's like, for the first time, the White House is discovering that people on the internet are altering stuff. They just discovered this. It's been going on for 20 years.
Right.
Okay. But it was directed mostly at Republicans, conservatives, and Trump. But now it's being directed at Joe. So, they point to the Italy thing, which wasn't fair to Biden, by the way. Biden was signaling one of the skydivers. That's why he walked away. So that wasn't fair. And people who reported that and went, har, 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 as Jackie Gleason once said, were being unfair. However, Barack Obama certainly led the president off the stage in L.A. If you have eyes, you saw him grab Biden's wrist and lead him off the stage. Why was that necessary? Have you ever seen a president of the United States have his wrist grabbed? I haven't.
Yeah, we've seen it a lot.
And I just wrote a book on 45 presidents. None of them had their wrists grabbed. All right? This is a first. So don't tell me that, what did Biden want? Obama's hand on his wrist? Are they dating? What's going on?
By the way, that was the other thing that the White House did say, Bill, was that, well, they're really close. And he just wanted to right.
The truth is that Obama knows Biden's in the twilight zone. And he knows that because Biden was in that zone when he was vice president. That's how Obama knows it.
And here we are years later. Do you honestly think that he's going to be able to last 4 years? And do you honestly think he's still going to stay on the ticket, Bill?
No, I don't think he'll be on the ticket. I've said that for almost a year now. My prediction is he's not going to be on the ballot in November. If he blows the debate, if he falters, can't get through it, looks like he doesn't know where he is or doesn't know what he's saying, that's over. It's over. That's it. And then the Democrats will really go into panic mode and try to get Whitner or Shapiro, two governors, into the mix. And maybe you'll have a surprise. Maybe Michelle Obama will finally emerge. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't rule her out. I agree with you, Bill. I don't rule her out.
Yeah, if Joe Biden can't get through that debate, it is over. And that's why so many people will watch it.
Yeah, it's going to be big. I agree. Peter King, your thoughts?
Listen, to me, it's going to be tough to get him off the ticket if he doesn't want to go. They have to get people to persuade him or persuade Dr. Jill to get him off the ticket.
I don't think it's going to be that tough, Congressman. because at that point the polling will rocket into Trump 60, Biden 40 territory.
Yeah, I just don't know if Dr. Jill reads polls. That's all. She seems so intent on keeping power. But we'll see.
Oh, no, they know. They know what's going on. Look, the three people that run the show in the White House is sharp. All right? They're progressive left, but they're not stupid. He doesn't do well. And if he gets through it, then you're going to hear he was on speed or crack.
Bill, what do they do with Kamala Harris?
Kamala's loving this because Kamala knows Biden, even if he's reelected, is not going to get through 4 years.
Yeah, but if he's put off the ticket, what happens to her?
It's impossible. He can't move her off the ticket.
Now, does she want to move up, though? Because as vice president, she should be theoretically entitled to be the nominee for president.
They will do that. Her polling numbers are too soft. She's at 32% job approval.
Oh, I know. It's just that I don't know how much rational thought is going on there, and we'll see. Again, I just don't know if Biden will step aside. Maybe you're right. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying I think it's still, as late as it is, it's still too early to tell, I think.
Well, you know better than anyway because you were in the swamp for a long time. But here's the key. The days after the debate, if you see a lot of private jets zipping into Martha's Vineyard, getting into Ubers, going up to Obama's plantation up there, you know something's going on.
And then, and Bill, you and I can have the debate, which is the worst swamp, the media or politics?
Oh, my God. That's like saying who's worse, Putin or Xi.
What are you talking about at 9 o'clock tonight, Bill?
I just told you, John, were you not listening to me?
I don't know. You guys got to be more.
There is more, and that's a very astute observation. I'm going to open the show with anti-Semitism in New York City and what the genesis of it is and how bad it is. Is it being over-reported, under-reported? That's my opening local monologue. Then we'll segue into the national stuff.
Well,
I'll be listening.
Yeah, we'll all be listening. Bill, thank you so much. Always great having you here. Thanks, Bill.
All right, guys.
Thank you. And tune in tonight to Bill O'Reilly at 9 o'clock.
And what do we all stand for?
Truth, justice, and the American way.
God bless America.
This is Greg Kelly for Priority Gold. What does it mean to be America's precious metals dealer? It means that you're in touch with the hearts and minds of those who love this country, value our freedom, and want to protect the future. Priority Gold is that precious metals dealer. They've helped thousands of Americans back their retirement with solid gold and silver. Call Priority Gold at 888-506-6439. Receive free shipping, free storage, a free investment guide, and one of the best purchase experiences in the industry. Call now or go to PriorityGold.com.